Welcome back to A Slice of Health, where health comes alive, with bite-sized health education to keep you moving and become your own health champion, with stories that heal and knowledge that empowers. But before we jump into our topic for today, I want to tell you a story. Susie is not sleeping well. Susie, for most of 2025, has found that she has struggled with her sleep. She has had many commitments that have required her to stay up late, often going to bed around 11:30 p.m. This has not particularly been a problem for Susie in the past, and although last year she slept better when she went to bed at 10, she finds that this year, waking up even at 7 or 8 is exhausting. Susie wants to know why it is that she gets about 7 hours of broken poor sleep but still feels so tired in the morning. In the past, when Susie was younger, she would get by on 4 hours or 5 hours of sleep. But now, the most basic things leave her feeling exhausted. She spoke to her doctor, who arranged for her to have some blood tests, which all came back normal. Susie's doctor has recommended that she do something called sleeping hygiene to try to help her and make sure she's getting better sleep. Susie wants to know, what exactly is sleep hygiene? And why is it so important that she starts getting more sleep or going to bed earlier when there's so much to be done in the day? Susie wants to know why there is such a fuss about her sleep when she previously used to be able to get as minimal sleep as possible. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about sleep, sleep, and more sleep. Did you know that you spend 1/3 of your life sleeping? 1/3 of your day at work, 1/3 of your day sleeping, we expect you to be, and 1/3 of your day doing other things like eating, commuting, spending time with your family. So your work environment is extremely important, but your sleep environment is so much more crucial. So 1/3 of your life asleep, 1/3 of your day ideally in sleep, which means 8 hours a day. Sleep is basically your body's process of rest. It allows the physical body and the brain to have a break. On the surface, it looks like nothing is happening. For a lot of people, you close your eyes, you get a little drift, you get into a moving vehicle, and you fall asleep. However, it's actually one of the body's most mysterious but most impressive ways of restoration. And if your sleep quality is bad, it can actually set off a cascading series of events that has a negative impact on the rest of your life and the quality of your life. So what exactly is sleep for? Sleep is your body's restoration. It's your body's reboot system. What happens when you sleep is that your body begins to conserve energy. The cells that you have in your body start to work at night time. They start to repair. Your body starts to do something called a self-repair rejuvenation process, which is why rest and sleep is so important. And your brain starts to do something that I like to call library work. Your brain starts to organize. It logs your memories. It logs information that has learned. It starts putting things into easier locations, into places where you can pull them out. Which is why sometimes when you've had a really busy day, you have a really busy night time because you're still constantly thinking, because you're not in deep sleep. Now, in general, it is recommended that you as an adult gets 7 to 9 hours of sleep a day. That's where we find that average of 8. For younger children, it's actually a lot more time. And obviously for babies and newborns is even a lot more. But in general, we recommend 7 to 9 hours of sleep per day for an adult. And although this varies, and some people feel that they don't need to sleep much, a lot of people are actually sleep deprived and they would actually benefit from having better quality sleep. Now, napping is also a very useful and rejuvenative practice where people take a break during the day, give themselves an opportunity to recharge and get a reboot. Now, we talked about Susie not really getting good sleep. Sounds like she's sleep deprived. For some people, like Susie, this can be a short-term thing, but for some people, it becomes a long-term and chronic problem. In Susie's situation, she said that last year she was going to bed before 10 p.m. So it does sound like a change in her routine has actually negatively impacted her sleep. Insomnia, sleep deprivation, problems and difficulties falling asleep often happen when there are two things involved. One, a difficulty in falling asleep. Two, poor planning and preparation in preparing for sleep. The really interesting thing is that the sleep cycle, as we mentioned, is really, really valuable because what it does is it allows our body to go into this deep state of REM sleep. REM sleep is really important because REM sleep allows our body to go into a really deep stage of rest. This rapid eye movement, REM sleep, is normally where dreams happen. During this situation, the body or the brain activity seems to be as though you are awake. This is why a lot of dreams happen in that period. However, it is not an awake state. It actually accounts for about 1/4 of our entire sleep situation. But this period of sleep, although short, is actually very, very reliable and effective for rest. So when we find that there are issues with sleeping, difficulty with sleeping, or deprivation in sleep, one of the most important questions that we need to ask is, one, is there a good pattern of sleep hygiene? Two, is there something else going on? In terms of something else going on, things that can affect sleep include things like night terrors, sleepwalking, sleep apnea as well. Having nightmare disorders can affect sleep. Sometimes people can have myoclonus, which is twitching in the legs or in the limbs before sleep. If you have any problems with teeth grinding or restless legs, sometimes that can also affect sleep. So those are conditions that would need to be investigated and having a conversation about how to manage them. However, in Susie's situation, it sounds like she needs some good sleep hygiene. And so what would we recommend for Susie? The first thing would be to keep a schedule of sleep. Our body actually really likes schedules, especially when it comes to sleep. So being consistent about the time you go to bed and the time you wake up. Also, having a routine that helps the brain to remember sleep is coming, rejuvenation is coming. This brain training goes a long way in preparing you for a good night's rest. Also, if it is time for bed and you're not feeling sleepy, then doing the activities that help you wind down, things away from the screen, things that can be quite relaxing, like reading or coloring, things that really settle down the body. Avoiding bright lights and electronics are really important as well. Things like tea, caffeine, alcohol, which can also affect sleep, really important. Another thing that is really important to help sleep is getting physical activity during the day. Actually really makes sleep a lot more easy, but it also makes it a lot more rejuvenating as well. One of the most important things about sleep as well is actually making the bedroom a place for sleep only. So things like putting mobile phones in the bedroom, putting laptops in the bedroom, putting televisions in the bedroom are normally generally discouraged so that you can try to create an entire atmosphere, an entire environment that enables you to sleep and sleep well. So in Susie's situation, seeing as she has already seen her doctor, we will talk to her about the sleep hygiene advice, encouraging her to have a look at her diary and think about where it is that she might want to incorporate these sleep hygiene recommendations. Another thing that Susie might really want to think about is actually going to bed earlier. We've started to see in research that sometimes going to bed before 11 and well before midnight can actually bring you into better restorative sleep and actual better management of cortisol. If you missed our cortisol episode, make sure you go check it out. So that's what we have for Susie today. She should definitely speak with her doctor about potential sleep disorders, but she should have a really good look at her sleep routine because it sounds like she doesn't have one. So let's get one in and improve her sleep hygiene. So that's it for me from today. Until I'm back in your ear tomorrow with stories that heal and knowledge that empowers. Bye for now.